The death toll in the Thane building collapse has risen to 42. This includes 11 children who were crushed to death in Mumbai on the outskirts of Mumbai after a building still under construction came crashing down in the evening. 50 people have been rescued, as we said 45 killed, but some are still believed to be trapped in the debris. The Chief Minister visited the site earlier today and spoke to the rescue teams who are still going through the rubble and the debris, hoping to find more people. The 7-story building collapsed into a mangled heap of steel and concrete over 20 feet high. Rescuers and local residents have struggled to cut through that heap. The building had reportedly been constructed illegally in just 6 weeks with substandard material. Homes and offices had already been set up within the building, even though it had no occupation certificate, and the 8th floor of the building was still under construction. The two builders, Jameel Qureshi and Salim Sheikh, have gone underground. The police have filed a case against them, a case of culpable homicide. But clearly the local administration that allowed this building to come up is as culpable as the builders for the tragedy.
फरवरी को मैं फाइल किया फर्स्ट विथ फोटोज विथ एरियाज नेम बट मिस्टर राजीव विद नो एक्शन वर टेकन देन आई विल स्टार्ट ऑन इन 7 मार्च को दिया एरिया का पूरे वार्ड में, ये वार्ड में 64 बी है, पूरे शिलफटा वार्ड में, उसके बारे में फोटो 70 फोटो भेजा और छोटी मोटी कार्रवाई की, लेकिन पूरा लीगल जबरदस्त कौन सा भी कार्रवाई नहीं किया. बाद में 18 मार्च को मैं फाइल किया, इसमें ये बिल्डिंग का भी फोटो था और पूरे एरिया पूरे वार्ड की बिल्डिंग की भी फोटो दिए. कार्रवाई छात्र मुझे करते थे, इसके लिए जवाबदार व्यक्ति है प्रशासन, महापालिका आयुक्त, इधर के नगर सेवक और इधर के बिल्डर लॉबी.
It is definitely very poor, though I am not a scientist, but after seeing the material, I am 100% sure it is of a very poor quality, and the building construction is not being done as per the proper code of conduct. Prima facie is the poor construction quality. The normal norms of the basic construction of the high-rise building is not being followed.
हादसा तो बहुत गंभीर है, नो डाउट अबाउट इट, लेकिन ऐसे भविष्यकाल में अगर इन हादसों से बचना है तो मेरे ख्याल से प्रशासन को कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई इसके आगे करनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि बुमरा और इस एरिया में इतने सारे अनऑथराइज बिल्डिंग्स हो गए हैं कि अगर हर एक धोखा अगर धोखे से टलना ही है तो इसके ऊपर बहुत गंभीरता से कार्रवाई करनी पड़ेगी.
Right, well, my colleagues Saurabh Gupta and Miloni Bhatt now join me from Mumbai for more on this. In fact, Saurabh spoke to the locals who had written a letter in February to the Thane municipality complaining about the illegal building that the agency obviously chose to ignore. Miloni is at the hospital with some patients as well. Saurabh, we'll come to you again for details on that letter, but let's go across first to Miloni, where the tales of horror and tragedy just seem to be coming in non-stop right now, Miloni.
Yes, Maya, it's shocking. I mean, just to go into that ward and to look at the scale of tragedy which unfolds before one's eyes. Now, of course, we've all been booted out of the hospital because we're interfering with patient care. But I had about 15 minutes in which I managed to speak with a couple of relatives, also with some of the people who are there in the hospital. And what I heard are just stories of utter despair. One of the stories is that of Imran Saib. Now this guy, he worked in the puncture repair shop on the ground floor of this particular building. His family, he says there were 12 people in it. It was an extended family and they all lived on the 4th floor. He says that after work he'd just gone upstairs and he was taking a nap when the building came crashing down. He had a pregnant wife. He says, my pregnant wife died before my own eyes. I had 2 other children. I have no idea where they are. Are they alive? Are they dead? And he just keeps mumbling, I have no idea what's happened to them. He thinks that the rest of his family, the extended family, have all died and somehow he was extricated out of the rubble. His leg is broken, but more than anything else, the man is just in shock and it is impossible for him to respond coherently to whatever he's asked. Next to him is an individual called Sharfuddin Mansoori. Now he had a garment scrap shop on the ground floor of this building. His leg is broken. I spoke with him and I said, why did you enter into this building? Don't you think, or didn't you realize that if a building comes up in 2.5 months, that perhaps there's something dodgy, that no buildings 7 floors tall come up so soon? And he says, look, we're poor people, we're trying to keep our lives together. I run a garment scrap shop, and I've just had this shop for 2.5 months. I was trying to build a life. And he says, the only thing I'm grateful for is that my life is saved. But how do I go on from here? He says he has no idea, because the means of livelihood is gone. His family, though, is safe because they didn't live here. The person, one woman whom we spoke with when we came out of the hospital, is the wife of the laborer Raju. Now, Raju really did not work at this building, the 7th floor or the 8th floor of which was being built, but he had filled in for his wife, whom we spoke with just a short while ago. He cannot speak, Maya. He's got 6 screws in his legs. I mean, his legs are literally being held together by these rods. His head is split. He's got bandages all across his body. His relatives don't even speak a language in which I understand. They speak a dialect of Marathi. His wife spoke to us in Hindi. She's been working as a construction laborer here, and she lives in a place called Kausa, which is a short distance away from where her husband was working. She's got 3 children, she says, 3, 4, 6 years old. They used to make 300 rupees working at this site. She says, my husband's in hospital. How am I going to support my family? Now, these are the kind of stories that are emanating out of this hospital. And the hospital has about 18 people who are dead in the morgue and 20 people who are injured, 4 of whom are little children. The kids, the doctors tell me, are stable. They're doing all right. There's a 10-month-old child. But what the doctors are telling us is that she's doing really, really well. Maya.
Right, Miloni, thanks for all those details. Clearly, extremely tragic stories at the hospital. Stay with us. Let's go across to Saurabh, who's at the site of the building collapse. Saurabh, we know you spoke to locals earlier about how they had actually filed a complaint with the municipality about this building. Why was nothing done about it? I mean, 6 weeks for a 7-story building seems implausible in the most unlikely scenarios. This was a fate perhaps waiting to happen.
That's right. I mean, look at the height of the building that has come down. Just look at the height of the debris. That's around 20 feet. So 20 feet of debris, you could only understand how tall this building was. And if I can just ask my camera person to show you the building right next to the building which has come down, and that's how high this building was. And it came crashing down in a matter of seconds, and everyone who was inside trapped did not have a chance to escape. And it's been nearly 24 hours since the building came crashing down, and rescue operations are still on. Some hope, Maya, like Mr. Alok Avasti was telling us, who's been heading the rescue operations on behalf of the National Disaster Relief Force. The Pune battalion is here helping with rescue. Some stories which really have hope, like for example in the afternoon a little boy was brought out from the debris. But if I can just show you, gas cutters also have been brought in here. The gas cutters being used to actually cut through the concrete, and all of this space, cranes all around here still trying their best to ensure that they can get maximum people out. Of course, there's a lot of police here trying to keep onlookers away, and the National Disaster Relief Force also working here to ensure that they can get people out as soon as possible. But if I can point out to you, this building came up in 6 weeks. That's how long it took to build an 8-story building. 7 stories of construction were completed. The 8th story was still under construction. And the illegalities were not just confined to the construction, but the land. Like Mr. Avasti pointed out, the plinth was perhaps not properly done. And that is why this building came crashing down. There's a nala right next to where the building stands, and that area floods every year, or used to flood every year, and that is why the land was soft. So probably the land filling before construction was not done properly, let alone construction, which was of pathetic quality, like Mr. Alok Avasti pointed out to us. But right now the focus of the rescuers is to try and get as many people out as possible. You can see cranes actually lifting debris that has been removed to the side and removing it, putting it outside. Also fire brigade ambulances on standby, hoping that if people are alive, and Mr. Awasthi says that he could find people alive because he says he has experience and the people were at home. So if they have access to food and water, and if there's some air filtering in, then they would be able to rescue people. Also what Mr. Awasthi is telling us is that they are using sensors. They have equipment, sensors that can feel acoustic movement and seismic movement. And acoustic movement would signify that someone is alive and someone is trapped, and they are depending on that to actually find people. Also sniffer dogs have been pressed into service, but given the crowd around this place and also given the noise around this place, those devices cannot be used to their optimum. But they are saying that they are hopeful that they will be able to find more people, and they are accounting for people who have not been found yet. So their job, they're saying that we have a certain number of people, we know a figure. Until we don't get to that figure, we're not giving up. Also, Maya, it's evening, so daylight will fall in a couple of hours or so. So they're trying to do the maximum amount of work before daylight falls here. And as you can see, people here at work trying to get people out. But the most important point is, why did it reach this stage? Why did the municipal authorities not act before actually this building came crashing down? This building was reported not once, not twice, but thrice by a citizen, Mr. Mangal Patil, who also provided not just the complaint, but also photographic evidence of how soon the building was coming up, pointed out the irregularities. All of that was ignored by municipal authorities. The municipal authorities and the politicians are now passing the buck. The blame game has started, the political blame game. But for those who've lost their lives, for those whose dreams have come crashing down in this rubble, they really are the ones trying to figure out what to do. As you can see, cranes here at work again, trying to remove debris, trying to actually remove as much as debris possible so that they can get to people who may be trapped inside. Many are still feared trapped, and all of that taking place here for the last 24 hours. Now remember, this building collapsed at 6:30 last evening, but now it's been nearly 24 hours since the building came down. The fire brigade, the National Disaster Relief Force, the Pune Battalion, and the police all here trying to ensure that the operations to bring out more people go on smoothly. Also the National Disaster Relief Force Commandant Mr. Alok Awasthi telling us that they are hopeful of bringing out more people alive from this debris right here that came crashing down last evening